We're ranking some itty-bitty ancient games in this episode of Little Big Thumbs. Earlier in 2024, we shared a collection of 4 games from Lemery Games, and these are sets of ancient games that are each set in a different region. The first set of 4 were based in Asia, and now we have the second set drawing from the legendary games of Africa. My name is JP, and you're watching Little Big Thumbs, a channel that's all about finding great games that are equally fun for little players and big players. Over the next few minutes, we're going to be sharing lightning quick peeks at each of these 4 games in the order that we most enjoy them. So let's not wait until this video becomes an ancient relic. Let's go and rank each of these ancient games right now. Oware is a Mancala-inspired game of planting and harvesting cocoa beans, and the goal is trying to collect as many seeds as we can from our opponent's pits while protecting our own precious pebbles. Here's how it works. We've got 2 rows of 6 pits, each starting with 4 seeds. On our turn, we'll pick up all of the seeds in one of our pits and sow them in a counterclockwise direction, dropping 1 seed per pocket. If your last seed lands in an opponent's pit, and after dropping your last cocoa seed, it contains exactly 2 or 3 seeds, you scoop them up for a sneaky harvest. And if that wasn't enough, there's the potential to steal even more seeds from your foe. If the previous opposing pit you planted in also has 2 or 3 seeds, you get to harvest those as well. We didn't see it happen often in our games, but it's possible to harvest from up to 5 rival plots, which adds a real sense of tension to the game, as each player is trying to defend their own farming plots. The game ends when one player has harvested 25 or more cocoa beans. However, if the opposing player has no more seeds left on their side of the board, and the active player is unable to place one of those seeds in their rival's pods, the player with all the seeds on their side collects them for their score pile, and we count to see who has the most. Oware is tactical and strategic, while also being accessible enough for either of my kids to get the basics of the game. The turns are simple, but the gameplay winds up being pretty tricky. And that's why we're ranking this 2-player game of cunning competition as our favorite, our number 1 game of this collection. Yote is a 2-player game of capturing and outmaneuvering our opponent amidst a busy marketplace as we move around and position the resting place of our trusty camels. Our cloth board starts bare, but don't be fooled. It fills up fast with strategic options. Here's how it works. Each of us has 12 pieces. On your turn, you get to either place a piece on any empty square or move a piece to an adjacent spot, up or down, side to side, but never diagonal. And all of that placement and movement builds towards the most consequential action of the game, which is capturing the pieces of our opponent. If you've got your piece snuggled up next to an opponent's and there's an empty square on the other side, you can just jump over and snatch that piece. But wait, there's more. After capturing a piece, you also get to remove another opposing piece from anywhere on the board. It's a 2-for-1 capture mania. The game ends once one player has captured all of the opposing pieces of their rival, or one of the players is unable to place, move, or capture with their pieces. If you love games styled after checkers, Yote is going to be a slam dunk decision. The game offers some really interesting choices, especially with the playing pieces not starting on the board to begin with. Yote is an excellent addition to this collection of ancient games, and while it wasn't our absolute favorite, it was a close second, and it's a game that we would play pretty much any time that we've got 2 players at our table. Next, we're swinging into the strategic game of Fanorona. Lemery Games has reimagined this ancient 2-player war game to be 2 groups of playful lemurs who are leaping and lunging through a maze of branches, all so that they can have this chunk of forest all to themselves. On each turn, players will move one of their lemurs on the table with tactics to either approach one of their rivals or lure them into a trap. First up, we've got the approach capture. If your lemur leaps toward an adjacent opponent, they get startled and tumble right off of the branch. But if you're feeling fancy, there's the lure capture. Moving away from an adjacent rival tempts them to follow, and whoops, they slip and fall right into your clutches. Now, here's where the fun really flies. You can chain together these captures, with your lemurs leaping from branch to branch, capturing another rival after another as they go. Just remember, they can't continue moving in the same direction, and they can't revisit the same branch twice in a chain. Each capture has to take them to a new, untouched spot on the treetops. The game ends when one team of lemurs has captured all of the others, or when that one team has trapped their rival so well that there's no move left for them to make. The winning side claims the treetops as their own, ruling the forest with their clever climbing and catchiness. We're not often fans of war games here at LittleBigThumbs, but the way they've reimagined this game as a struggle for branchy domination really makes it pop. The game starts with a pretty tight setup, but offers a wide swath of decisions as the game evolves. We did really enjoy Fanorona, and it's ranked a tight number 3 in this collection. Now we're diving into the daring game of Dara. Imagine two rival families, each one calling upon the powerful spirit of the lion and the elephant to aid them in their epic struggle on the table. Mechanically, the game takes place over 2 distinct phases. First, players take turns placing their spirit tokens on a 5x6 grid. Once all 24 tokens are in place, it's time for the second and final phase of the game. Each turn, players move a token with the goal of forming a line of 3, up or down, side to side, but not diagonal. Just keep in mind that it's not permitted to create a line of more than 3 tokens. It's easy to slip up on that last rule, so make sure to watch out on your first playthrough. Forming that line of 3 calls down a blessing from that player's guardian spirit. And when we accomplish this, it allows us to capture one of our rival's tokens and throw a wrench into their plans. Just note that if a player has an existing row of 3 pieces, those are locked in, and it's not possible to steal from that particular grouping. The game continues in this move and capture phase until one family whittles down their rival's tokens to just 2, rendering them unable to create any further lines of 3 and thus severing their connection to the spirit world. And the first player to accomplish this wins the game. Much like Fanorona, the theming here allows the game to slightly lift out of its abstract nature. The more we played this one, the more apparent it became that the first phase of the game played a much bigger role than we first gave it credit for, and a suboptimal setup can lead to some pretty frustrating experiences. Even though there's plenty of strategic fun to be had in games of Dara, especially with equally matched players, that little tinge of frustration is going to be the factor that pushes this one to the bottom of our ranking here in this list of ancient games. So there you have it, 4 ancient games ranked in the order that we most enjoyed them on our family gaming table. The first set of ancient games, using games from Asia, offered a minimalistic approach with a lovely quality that feels luxurious without being overproduced. And with this second set, that same aesthetic excellence continues. On a personal note, when my kids first spotted this collection of games on our gaming table, they rushed right over, remembering how much they enjoyed the previous set of games, and they said, "Oh my gosh, I love these games!" and immediately started pulling them all out, wanting to play right away. For a couple of kids who get fed new games on a pretty regular basis, that excitement on seeing a new product on the table is the best kind of endorsement. From my perspective, I think the 4 games chosen here all offer quick, portable, and engaging experiences with real quality decisions throughout. And unlike the first set of ancient games, it was a little bit harder to pick our absolute favorite. But my personal love for playing Mancala when I was younger has pushed Oware to the top of this ranking. At the time of this recording, Lemery Games is preparing to launch a Kickstarter campaign for this collection, and you can find a link to that campaign and their website in the description of this video. And I mention this because they're returning to a really lovely funding model where you can choose to pledge for one of these little games at a pay what you can or pay what you want model, plus the cost of shipping. I believe those single games will arrive in a pouch rather than one of the tiny boxes, but I think it's a really tremendous way to build a community on Kickstarter while also including folks who might be on a pretty tight gaming budget. And if their previous campaign is any indication, there will be a handful of expansions and variants included in the full collection, which is really an attractive and practical collection of tiny games. So maybe this list will help you decide which of these 4 games to pick up for yourself, or maybe you're swayed by the full collection and you want the whole shebang. Either way, if you have questions about any of these games or the package that we were sent as a prototype, make sure to let us know in the comments of this video. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of the fun games that we're exploring here at LittleBigThumbs. Thank you to Lemery Games for sending us a sample, a chance to try out, to borrow and try out their new collection of ancient games. And as always, thank all of you for watching along. And until next time, whether you've got little players or big players, make sure that you keep playing games that make your thumbs go way up. Bye for now.